What is up, everybody? What is up? How's it going? Happy freaking Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hope you're having a good day so far. Today, hope you're having, like I said, a good day. Let me know how your day's going. Feel free to say hello in the comments so I know you're here, so I know you're tuning in. Today we're going to be talking about, this is episode 2, by the way, of my podcast. And so if you are not over there subscribed or following it, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts. It's called The Fit Parent Project. Definitely encourage you all to go check it out. And I would appreciate, a follow or a review or whatever you want, if you feel like it. So, but we're going to get this thing kicked off here in a second. So as you were tuning in, let me know how your day is going. Let me know how it's going. Say hi. And today we're actually going to be talking about, how my story being a stay-at-home dad. I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about how, how our kind of like pregnancy went, when it comes to, what's up, Aaron? How's it going? When it comes to my, my kid, being born. And so, it's going to be one of those things where we end up, if we end up getting a little bit, we're going to get a little deep on some of these things. And so I want to talk about that though today, because I feel like there's a lot of parents out there who either are new parents going through exactly what I went through back then, or there's a lot of current parents out there who maybe not so much so early on in their parenthood journey, but are, currently still, you're still parents, right? And so we still go through these things. And so this is going to be a healthy reminder when it comes to that. And so so we're gonna get this kicked off here in just a second. But as you guys are tuning in, if you watch this at a later time, #replay, feel free to give it a like. And we're gonna get things kicked off here in just a second. So I'm gonna hit my record button and then we're gonna get going. So here we go in 3, 2, 1. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Fit Parent Project. It's me, Austin, episode 2. Let's freaking go. Today, I want to talk about how my story as like a stay-at-home dad, and how fitness to me was self-care, and it was a form of self-care that helped me get through some, very tough times. And it's something that I think a lot of parents, both new and old, will get value from, and will probably be able to relate to a lot, because it's one of those things that can be very tough a lot of times. And so, and so I apologize ahead of time if I don't foresee myself getting choked up during talking about this, but sometimes it just kind of hits you, and you don't know when it's going to happen. So if that happens, just know I'm good. And so also full transparency, before we really dive into this, this does have some like potential like mental health like trigger stuff going on. So just warning to that. I will be talking about like, going deep in how things were for me, and how I was feeling in those moments, because I think a lot of those things are very relatable to a lot of other parents out there who may be going through the same shit that I went through. And so, let's jump into this. So, I do want to say too, from the get-go, coming from a place of just being, authentic, back then, especially whenever I was, younger, I was not used to being a parent. I'm still this way, but I am a very selfish person, in a lot of ways. I'm a pretty selfish person, and I think admitting that, I think, is like a good thing, because it helps me recognize when I'm being a little bit too selfish. I think a little bit of being selfish is healthy, and I think it's a good thing to have that, in our lives, and to kind of use that whenever it's deemed necessary, so we don't get like run over or walked all over and things like that. But for me, I used to be a pretty selfish person, and so. Keeping that in mind, let's kind of talk about, the pregnancy in itself. It was a very stressful and traumatic pregnancy, that ended up happening. Our son was born about 4 weeks early, very unexpectedly. We had like a really, difficult time with during the actual pregnancy itself. My wife ended up, having preeclampsia, which is why he had to be, C-section, emergency C-section. and it ended up developing into HELP syndrome. That, and among some other like little health scares and things like that, we ended up spending 2 weeks in the NICU, me and my wife and my baby, and we ended up staying there for 2 weeks. And they both almost died. Jessica almost died. She was my wife, for those of you who are new to listening to this. So she almost died. Our baby almost died. And I was in this position of, who the hell do I spend time with? Right? It's one of those, it was a very difficult decision where it was like, man, who do I choose to go spend time with? Because either of these people may not make it. Right? Either of these people may not make it in my life that are important. Do I spend time with the person that, has been with me all these years, and, like needs me right now? Or do I spend time with my child who was just born and is new to the world and like really needs me right now too? And so, it was one of those things. It was tough because it was like, I'd go from hospital room to hospital room because they had to be, in NICU, and she was in her own hospital room. And so it was just like going back and forth when I could see either of them. And so it was a very stressful time. Like I said, we ended up we were in the NICU and Jessica was in the hospital for like 2 weeks. And so it was very, very difficult time. And so, just as an aside, like when we had to take my son to the hospital to get stitches in his chin a couple of weeks ago, me and my wife were talking about it, and we were having some like flashbacks, of the pregnancy just from being in the hospital itself, because it was so like traumatic. Like I was just like, we were in there and I was just like, was sitting there, and I could tell that, and she was telling me about it too. Like, we're just sitting there and just like, oh my gosh, like all of these like very like not fun memories are just like, coming back, from those times. And so it's one of those things that, it was definitely scary. But fast forward a little bit, right? We get home, we have our new baby. It's, it's one of those things, new parents. And I didn't have a job yet at the time because we had just moved to a new area. And I was looking for work in my field at the time with what I was going to school for. And I had applied to tons and tons of jobs. But during this time, at the very beginning, I had actually applied to work graveyard shift at a local like plant lab. It was weird. It was fun, but it was graveyard shift, which was very tough with a new baby. I also, for a short period of time, ended up cleaning up vacated homeless camps and cleaning up trash off the medians and highways. That didn't last very long though, just because, just to kind of paint the very literal picture, cleaning up poop buckets and gallon jugs of trucker piss and used syringes was not really what I wanted to do, in particular, but I was doing it, right? I was doing what had to be done. But especially being a new dad, it was not the safest, the trucker or the cleaning up the side of the road was not the safest job. To be honest, it was not. There were, we were on the median, we had to wear hard hats when we were out on the road. Like I got hit by a couple of rocks, a couple times that would get like churned up by the semis that would be driving by really fast, but we were on the freeway. And so it was just like in that time, I was like, man, I don't need to be doing this right now. Like I don't want to like die after just like having a new kid, right? Like, it's not the safest job in the world. So we decided that, I was going to do the other job for the graveyard shift. And I did that for, 3 or 4 months. And it, came a time where our childcare kind of ended unexpectedly. And so I was left with the decision to, kind of step up and be a stay-at-home dad. And so, and again, leading back to what I said previously, me being just genuinely just kind of a selfish person in general. I like to give a lot, but I also really, like my time, and I like doing what I deem as being a priority oftentimes. And so, believe it or not, I'm not exactly the most caregiving person in the world. I don't really have a caregiver kind of brain or mentality. And so it just doesn't really register with me that much, just to be honest. And so I get stressed out easily by like repeated noises. Like I remember for a while early on, just getting used to our child, like, it was just like, man, like, crying, like AKA like, what babies do all the time it would just be like, somebody just tapping me on my forehead all the time. And I'm sure a lot of other parents can relate to this, especially if you have a young child right now who's crying a lot. It's just one of those things. It's like, oh man, like when is this gonna stop? When is it gonna when will I have some peace of mind? And the answer is pretty much never. And so when they're sleeping sometimes, but yeah. And so, and I want to be honest too. Like parenthood is often portrayed as this like beautiful thing. In a lot of ways it is, right? A lot of ways it really is. But For us, though, it was just such a stressful and scary time from the beginning with the birth, and just so many like crazy abrupt like changes happening all at once, a lot sooner than we were expecting them to happen. Created this like drastic transition overnight. And the first 6 months, honestly, the first year, especially after once I stepped into the role of being stay-at-home dad, were pretty like hellish, honestly. And I don't think parents talk about that enough. And I think even now, looking back, it's almost hard to remember how bad it actually was at times, just because like your brain almost makes you forget about it, because it's like, you might want to have babies again at some other time in the future. And so your brain's like, we don't need to remember those parts about it. We just look how beautiful and cute your baby is, and so that kind of happens. But I don't think that parents talk about it enough, how stressful having a kid is, especially at the beginning, how hard it is, because it's really fucking hard. It's really hard. And I know I have friends and other people in my life that I know that are like thinking about having a baby, or having or thinking about doing that kind of stuff. And I'm like, be ready, right? Because it changes your life in incredible crazy ways. Some great, and some, maybe a little lackluster, but at the end of the day, these are the choices that we make. And so, but in those times during that first like 6 to 12 months, I felt like, especially when I was a stay-at-home dad, I felt a lot like I was just like this, like chronically like underslept, like grumpy, like prisoner in my house. Right. And a lot of stay-at-home parents, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, you're probably going to relate to a lot with what I'm saying right now. And if you're not a stay-at-home mom or dad and you're, a working parent, key in on this and appreciate your stay-at-home spouse, because these things are very like being a stay-at-home parent is hard as shit. It is probably the hardest job I've ever had in my entire life. And I've done a lot of difficult things. I run my own business. I've worked, like I said earlier, I've worked like crazy, like disgusting jobs. I've done, and that's not even talking about some of the other stuff I've done in the past, like work wise, like climbing down into septic systems to like clean out fish cleaning stations filled with maggots and just like nasty shit, like hard labor, not fun stuff. But I've done all those things, right? I've seen both sides, so I feel like I could be pretty empathetic to these things. I've done both. Being a stay-at-home parent is hard as shit. And if you want to like pause this part of the podcast and reverse it back 10 seconds, so that way you can like play that to your spouse who may not be appreciating your stay-at-home parentdom right now, please do. So yeah, it's hard as shit. And so I felt like this like underslept like prisoner basically. And my mental health started to like deteriorate a lot, to the point that I was just like severely depressed, like almost constantly. And it came to a point too where like, there are moments where, I was laying on like, Jessica would go to work. I would be like, I would be taking care of the kid in the morning, getting everything done, getting everything put together. Not to mention, I also tore my pec partially during this period of time of being a stay-at-home parent. So imagine, for at least most of this story, I have my arm up in a sling. I cannot pick up even a half a gallon of milk because it hurts insanely bad. I can't put deodorant. I have to put deodorant on in like the weirdest way because I can't lift my arm up. Like all these crazy things that are going on. And I'm stay-at-home dadding with this baby that I'm having to do like one-arm diaper changes with, and trying to feed him and do all these other things. And so, I ended up getting hurt. I couldn't go to the gym very much during this period of time. But once those things kind of healed up to an extent, and I was able to get back into the gym more consistently, that was kind of my like sanctuary in a sense, because like I said, like severely depressed. There were moments of time when I was being a stay-at-home dad, and some of you can probably relate to this, whether you're stay-at-home or not. It was just like I felt so isolated, very, very isolated. Like I said earlier, I felt like a prisoner, and so there would be times where I'd wake up, get the kid ready. We would, be hanging out. I'm hanging out with a baby. Like, here I am, kind of Mr. Mom in it, which is like the furthest thing from what I wanted to do in that moment, because like I wanted to, pursue my career at the time. I wanted to go out and, get a job and change the world and all these other things. And I'm sitting at home, changing diapers, wiping puke off myself, listening to my baby cry. And it got to the point where I was like, laying, on the floor, like next to my kid who's crying, just like, crying myself, being like crying out like, please just like make it stop. Like I am at my wit's end. Like I don't know what to do. And it came to a point where I was like, Jessica, like, and just had an open conversation with my, spouse, with my, she was my fiance at the time, I guess, but, my now wife. Just had an open conversation with him. It was just like, I'm not doing hot right now. Like this whole stay-at-home parenting thing, like and I'm grateful that we have the choice to like choose for me to not to be in this position potentially, but like we need to get the fuck out of here. Basically, we need a change, because if we don't make a change, like I'm scared of the route that like my mental health is going to go down, and was just open and honest about what I needed in that moment and versus what was, the current status of things. And we were like, cool, let's figure it the fuck out. Right. And so having that open line of communication with my like significant other, I think was like so crucial and so important for me, and for any relationship really, that it, honestly, yeah, it basically completely shifted kind of my mindset. It helped me feel like there was hope again, right, in a lot of ways. And so, not to go too far into the detail of it, but like, I started applying for jobs. I had applied for over like 100 jobs at that time around our local area, and I'd had 1.5 interviews, and it was for a job that I was vastly underqualified for, to be honest. And so, that sucked. But then we started looking outward, and we were like, well, we need to make this happen. We're going to move. And so, I ended up getting, I applied for 10 jobs outside of the area we were looking for. I got 7 offers. So that felt good too. But then, before all that kind of transpired, before we got out of that situation, leading back to kind of what I was talking about, like, I felt like a prisoner, right? I felt like I had no friends around because we just moved to that area. Jessica worked a ton. She was exhausted when she got home. I was exhausted from taking care of the kid all day. And it was one of those things. It was like, well, we're both freaking tired, like, tired as hell. Like, what do we do? And so it was tough because like, I never felt like I got to leave work, right? That's the plight of a stay-at-home parent, is that you're always at work. You're always on. You don't get to go be, just for an example, like you don't get to go be doctor whatever at your position. You don't get to get out and go be, whatever your title is or whatever your job title is for, that set amount of time. And so, like you never get to leave your work whenever you're a stay-at-home parent. It's like 24/7. You're constantly on, on basically. So that's really tough too. And so for me in those moments, the gym was like my sanctuary, right? It was especially during that time, it was my way to get away. It was my access to self-care. It was this thing that gave me this like recharge kind of in the middle of the day. It was like the quiet time for my like mind to actually hear myself fucking think for like the first time in like hours, from like like listening to like kids shows and like hearing a baby cry and things like that constantly. It's very difficult. And so, that was what the gym was for me. It was something that I enjoyed. It was this like small window of self-care daily that helped me survive those like really like, difficult times early on in parenthood, especially, and still serves me to this day. And so if you're a parent right now, if you're like a stay-at-home parent, if you're a parent and your kids are older right now and you're working, or if you're not working, whatever it may be, if you're a parent or anyone for that matter who's going through a tough time, prioritizing that self-care is so important. I don't care if it is 10 minutes out of your day, if it's 20 minutes out of your day, if you're lucky enough to get an hour of your day to have it. Take full advantage of that shit, because that is going to be what like gives you that like that sense of like humanness again, or like that sense of like individuality, or that sense of like purpose, I guess, in a lot of ways. Not that you can't derive purpose from other parts of your life like parenthood, but we're more than just mom, right? We're more than just dad. Like we have, thoughts and feelings and ambitions and hobbies and things that we like and don't like. And like a lot of times I feel like, when we step into the role of mom or step into the role of dad, a lot of times, people, the expectation that they put on themselves is that they have to give up that shit. They have to give up those things that they enjoy. They have to give up that self-care. But that just honestly, like I wholeheartedly believe that could not be further from the truth. I think that having our self-care, if it's from fitness and nutrition and eating right and working out and, being your healthy self, being, whatever that may be for you, you need that in your life. You cannot afford to give that up for too long, because otherwise, it's that saying of like, you can't pour from an empty cup. Right. And so if you're just constantly pouring, can you really say that you're probably going to be your best self in those moments, or your best parent self, or your best mom self, dad self, whatever you want to call it? I don't think so. I know when I was like, laying on the floor, like, pleading with my like 6-month-old to please stop crying. I was not my best self mentally, emotionally, physically, by any means. And so, for me, in those moments, and still to this day, the gym is my sanctuary. Fitness and nutrition are this thing that, is my thing that I do to like make myself feel good. That makes me feel like it's almost like, a lot of times when I go to the gym, it's almost like a bath for like my brain to like, clean my mind out and to just kind of have a period of time where I can just like listen to some good music, lift some weights, look, as not narcissistic as it sounds, or maybe it is, look at myself in the mirror and just appreciate what I'm accomplishing, and that like, damn, like I not bad, dad, huh? Like, right? Not bad. And same for the moms out there, right? It can be a huge confidence booster. And so, on that note, really, I just kind of want to, end on that note, I guess. It's just like, find your self-care. Maybe it's the gym for you. But just because you're a parent doesn't mean you don't deserve that self-care. Just because you're a parent doesn't mean you don't deserve to have a health journey or a fitness journey or a weight loss journey or whatever it may be, right? Especially if you're a parent. Like, I think it's especially important to have that time in your day. And in this, in future episodes, we're going to be talking about ways to make that a reality for yourself. Because right now you might be like, well, that's good for you, but I feel like I don't have any time to do that right now. And that's okay, right? So stick around, keep listening, going forward. And we're going to, this is going to be, this is going to be an exciting time. This is going to be an opportunity for you guys to learn a lot, and to reach that next level version of yourself, honestly, whether you're, new parent or old parent. And on that note, guys, I hope that this is valuable. At the end of the day, parents need self-care too. And on that note, I'm going to let you all go. Have a great freaking day, and I'll talk to you all later. Boom, we're done. What's up? How's it going, everybody? How's it going? Let me know your number one takeaway from that one. But that just kind of is like a little bit of the story of me being a stay-at-home dad. I see some comments here. Oh, I see some comments here. Give me a second here. Let me check these out. Now that we've finished recording that. Let's see. Click to expand. Story of me being a stay-at-home. Cool. Awesome. Let's see. So, what's up, Aaron? Candy, took me over 30 years to learn that. Thanks. Hey, that's okay. Everybody learns a different, isn't it wonderful though that you did learn it, right? That, may have taken 30 years. But at the end of the day, you did it, and you're here, and you learned it, and now we're making headway, right, towards those goals and that self-care. So, I appreciate you listening. It's one of those things that, I don't know. I don't think a lot of people know how like hard it is to be a stay-at-home parent. I don't think a lot of people realize how hard it is just to be a parent in general. And honestly, like, yeah, it can get pretty fucking hard. It can get really hard. Like I talked about, like, I feel like I'm a pretty strong person mentally, and physically and emotionally, especially now. But like, being in that, like, it's almost like another world, almost, being a stay-at-home parent and being, a parent to a newborn. So, especially with how scary things were for us. But yeah, other than that though, that's all I got for you guys today. And I hope that this was valuable. I hope that you enjoyed this. And if you guys did, please feel free to give the video a like. Helps other people see it. If you're watching this later time, #replay so I know that you saw it. And let me know your number one takeaway in the comments. And if you were a stay-at-home parent, feel free to share your experiences. And if yours relate to mine, or like relatable or not, or if you had like a crazy different experience than what I had. But at the end of the day, we are all running our own race, living our own lives, and we've got things going on, right? I'll read this last one before I hop off. Number one takeaway: it's okay to take care of yourself so you can take care of your kids and not feel drained. Hell yeah. The tale of the wolf mother. That's right. That's what that is right there. But yeah, guys, talk to you later.